More than 2,000 years ago, a young woman stood on the balcony of a great palace. Below her was one of the richest cities in the world. The city was Alexandria in Egypt. Ships filled the busy harbor. Merchants sold gold, silk, spices, and beautiful glass. People from many countries walked through the crowded streets. But inside the palace, danger was everywhere. The young woman looked calm. She wore a white dress and a golden crown. She was only 21 years old. Many people wanted her throne. Some wanted her money. Others wanted her dead. Yet this young queen would become one of the most famous women in history. Her name was Cleopatra. Was she only famous because of her beauty, or was she much more than that? Today, we will discover the true story of Cleopatra, a woman who spoke many languages, a clever ruler, a fearless leader, and a queen who changed history forever. Let's begin. Cleopatra was born around 69 BC. She was born into a royal family called the Ptolemy dynasty. This family ruled Egypt for almost 300 years. But there was something unusual. The Ptolemies were not originally Egyptian. They came from Greece. Many years before Cleopatra was born, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. After his death, one of his generals became king. His family ruled Egypt for many generations. Cleopatra grew up in a beautiful palace in Alexandria. Alexandria was one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. It had wide streets, large gardens, busy markets, and one of the biggest libraries ever built. From a young age, Cleopatra loved learning. She studied history. She studied mathematics. She learned geography. She enjoyed reading books. She listened carefully to great teachers. Unlike many rulers of her time, Cleopatra learned several languages. She could speak Greek. She learned Egyptian. She also understood other languages spoken by traders and visitors. This helped her speak directly to different people. She did not always need an interpreter. People admired her intelligence. Even as a young girl, she asked many questions. She wanted to understand how kingdoms worked. She wanted to know how leaders made difficult decisions. She dreamed of becoming a great ruler one day. But life inside the royal palace was not peaceful. Power often brought fear. Family members fought each other for the throne. Trust was rare. Every smile could hide a secret. Every friend could become an enemy. Cleopatra was growing up in a world where one mistake could cost a person everything. She did not know it yet, but soon her greatest challenge would begin.
When Cleopatra was 18 years old, her father died. His name was Ptolemy XII. Before he died, he made an unusual decision. He wanted Cleopatra to rule Egypt with her younger brother. His brother's name was Ptolemy XIII. He was only about 10 years old. In ancient Egypt, it was common for royal brothers and sisters to rule together. Sometimes they were even expected to marry. But Cleopatra wanted to be more than just a queen in name. She wanted to make decisions. She wanted to help her people. She wanted Egypt to become strong again. At first, everything seemed peaceful. The people welcomed their new queen. The royal palace was filled with celebrations. Music echoed through the great halls. Priests offered prayers. The streets of Alexandria were decorated with flowers and colourful banners. But the happiness did not last long. Behind the palace walls, powerful men wanted control. They believed Cleopatra was too independent. They wanted to rule through the young king instead. Every day their influence grew stronger. Slowly, they turned the young king against his own sister. They whispered lies into his ears. Cleopatra wants all the power. She does not care about you. You should be the only king. The young king believed them. Soon, brother and sister became enemies. The palace became a dangerous place. People no longer knew whom they could trust. A simple conversation could become a deadly secret. Every smile could hide betrayal. Every hallway carried whispers. Cleopatra understood that her life was now in danger. She could stay, or she could escape. She made the difficult choice. She left Alexandria. She traveled into the eastern desert with only a small group of loyal followers. She lost her palace. She lost her throne. She lost her army. But she did not lose her courage. Every night she looked toward Egypt. She knew one thing: I will return. She did not know how. She did not know when. But she believed that one day she would sit on the throne again. Far away, another powerful man was traveling toward Egypt. His name was Julius Caesar. He was one of the greatest generals in Roman history. His arrival would change Cleopatra's life forever. And soon, the world would witness one of the most famous meetings in history.
The year was 48 BC. Egypt was no longer peaceful. The country was divided. Two rulers wanted the same throne. Cleopatra wanted to become queen again. Her brother, Ptolemy XIII, refused to share power. At the same time, another great conflict was happening. The Roman Republic was in the middle of a civil war. Two powerful generals fought for control. One was Julius Caesar. The other was Pompey. After losing an important battle, Pompey escaped to Egypt. He hoped the Egyptian king would help him. But the king's advisors made a terrible mistake. They believed Caesar would be pleased if Pompey were dead. So they killed Pompey before Caesar arrived. A few days later, Julius Caesar reached Alexandria. When he learned what had happened, he was shocked. Pompey had once been his friend. Caesar did not celebrate. Instead, he was angry. He believed such an act dishonored Rome. Now Caesar decided to settle the conflict in Egypt himself. He invited both Cleopatra and her brother to meet him. But there was one problem. Cleopatra could not enter Alexandria safely. Her enemies watched every road. If they found her, they would probably kill her before she reached Caesar. She needed a different plan, a brave and clever plan. One night, while the city slept, Cleopatra and a loyal servant quietly crossed the Nile River in a small boat. The moon shone across the calm water. The streets were silent. The palace guards knew nothing. When they reached the palace, Cleopatra hid inside a large rolled carpet. Her servant carried the heavy carpet through the palace gates. The guards believed it was simply a gift for Julius Caesar. No one stopped them. No one guessed that Egypt's queen was hidden inside. The servant entered Caesar's private chamber. He carefully placed the carpet on the floor. Then he slowly unrolled it. To everyone's surprise, a young woman stood up. She was calm. She was elegant. She was fearless. She looked directly into Julius Caesar's eyes. She did not bow. She did not cry. She simply introduced herself. "I am Cleopatra." For a few moments, the room became completely silent. Even the Roman soldiers were amazed. Caesar looked at the young queen. He saw intelligence. He saw confidence. He saw courage. Cleopatra explained everything. She told him how she had lost her throne. She explained how powerful advisors had turned her brother against her. She asked Caesar for justice, not as a helpless woman, but as the rightful ruler of Egypt. Caesar listened carefully. He admired her courage. He admired her clever plan. Most of all, he admired her confidence. That single meeting changed history forever. Soon, Caesar decided to support Cleopatra, but helping her would also create new enemies. A dangerous war was about to begin, and before long, the streets of Alexandria would become a battlefield.
Julius Caesar kept his promise. He announced that he would help solve the problem between Cleopatra and her brother. But the king's advisors became furious. They did not want Cleopatra to return. They also did not want Rome to interfere. Soon, the palace was surrounded by soldiers loyal to King Ptolemy XIII. The city of Alexandria became dangerous. A war had begun. It is now known as the Alexandrian War. The streets that were once full of merchants and travelers were now filled with fear. People stayed inside their homes. Smoke rose above the city. The sound of swords echoed through the streets. Caesar had only a small army. The enemy had many more soldiers. For several weeks, the fighting continued. Food became scarce. Water was difficult to find. But Caesar refused to surrender. Cleopatra stayed close to him. She remained calm during the difficult days. She encouraged her supporters. She believed that patience and courage would bring victory. Finally, Roman reinforcements arrived from the north. Fresh soldiers entered Egypt. The balance of the war changed. A great battle took place near the Nile River. King Ptolemy XIII tried to escape. He climbed into a boat with his soldiers. But the boat became too heavy. It tipped over into the river. The young king disappeared beneath the water. He never returned. The war was over. Cleopatra had won. She returned to Alexandria as the Queen of Egypt. The people welcomed her once again. The palace doors opened. The royal banners flew proudly in the wind. Music filled the city. For the first time in many years, Cleopatra ruled Egypt with confidence. She worked hard to improve her kingdom. She helped rebuild the economy. Trade became stronger. The ports of Alexandria became busy again. Merchants from many countries came to Egypt. Unlike many rulers, Cleopatra often spoke directly with her people. She could speak their language. She listened to their problems. Many people respected her not only as a queen, but also as a wise leader. Her friendship with Julius Caesar also grew stronger. Together, they hoped for a peaceful future. But history had another surprise waiting for them. A tragedy in Rome would soon change everything. And once again, Cleopatra would have to fight for her kingdom.
For a few years, Egypt was peaceful again. Queen Cleopatra ruled wisely. The markets became busy. Ships arrived from many countries. The farms produced food. Trade made Egypt rich once more. People respected their queen. She was intelligent. She was brave. She worked hard for her kingdom. During this time, Cleopatra and Julius Caesar became close friends and allies. Together, they dreamed of a strong and peaceful Egypt. Soon, Cleopatra gave birth to a son. His name was Caesarion. Many people believed he was Julius Caesar's son. Cleopatra hoped her son would one day become a great ruler. But far away, in the city of Rome, danger was growing. Some Roman leaders believed Julius Caesar had become too powerful. They feared he wanted to become king. On March 15, 44 BC,
a group of senators attacked him. Inside the Roman Senate, they stabbed Julius Caesar many times. One of the attackers was his trusted friend, Brutus. Caesar fell to the ground. The great Roman leader was dead. When Cleopatra heard the news, she was heartbroken. She knew everything had changed. Without Caesar's protection, Egypt was once again in danger. Cleopatra returned home. She focused on protecting her kingdom and her young son. A few years later, another powerful Roman leader entered her life. His name was Mark Antony. He was a famous general and one of Rome's strongest leaders. Cleopatra and Mark Antony became close allies. Together, they ruled the eastern part of the Roman world for several years. But not everyone supported them. In Rome, another leader was rising. His name was Octavian. He believed Antony and Cleopatra were becoming too powerful. Soon, war began once again. The final battle took place near the coast of Greece. It is remembered as the Battle of Actium. Octavian's navy defeated Antony and Cleopatra. They escaped back to Egypt, but they knew their future was uncertain. As Octavian's army entered Alexandria, hope slowly disappeared. Mark Antony believed Cleopatra had died. Filled with sadness, he took his own life. When Cleopatra found him, she held him in her arms. She cried. She had lost the man she loved. A few days later, Octavian captured Alexandria. He planned to take Cleopatra to Rome as a prisoner. But Cleopatra refused. She had lived as a queen. She would not live as a prisoner. According to the most famous story, she allowed an Egyptian cobra to bite her. Other historians believe she may have used poison. No one knows the complete truth, but everyone agrees on one thing. In 30 BC, Cleopatra died at the age of 39. With her death, the age of the Egyptian pharaohs came to an end. Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. Yet, more than 2,000 years later, people still remember her. Many believed Cleopatra was famous only because of her beauty. But history tells a different story. She was highly educated. She spoke many languages. She understood politics. She negotiated with powerful leaders. She fought for her country until the very end. She was one of the most intelligent and influential women in history. Her story teaches us an important lesson. True power does not come from beauty. It comes from knowledge, from courage, from confidence, and from never giving up, even when life becomes difficult.
Cleopatra's story has been told for more than 2,000 years. Some people remember her as a beautiful queen. Others remember her as a brilliant politician. Some admire her courage. Others question her decisions. But one thing is certain. She refused to let others decide her future. She fought for her kingdom with intelligence, courage, and determination until her final day. History rarely gives us perfect heroes. It gives us people who made difficult choices in difficult times. So here's a question for you. Was Cleopatra a great queen, or a ruler whose ambition changed history forever? Share your thoughts in the comments below. There are no easy answers, and that's what makes history so fascinating. If you enjoyed learning English through this story, subscribe to Storyverse English and join us on another journey through history. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening, and keep exploring the stories that shaped our world.